corruption in boxing here. So we're on the cusp of Deontay Wilder defending his WBC version of the World Heavyweight Championship of the world against undefeated Cuban southpaw Luis Ortiz. Luis receiving a redemption, being blessed for the second time to receive his long overdue title opportunity. Ironic how after Deontay decreeing that he would never fight any opponent who had failed a drugs test. But if you decipher that equation, you know that is just a fugazi. Now, the fight is taking place over at the Barclays, Brooklyn, New York, Deontay's second home, where he packs the stadium out to the rafters apparently. Excuse me. Now, the fight, much like the recent Star Wars film, which was titled The Last Jedi, Showtime, I think, have lost any opportunity with this particular fight. They really should have billed this fight as Deontay Wilder versus Luis Ortiz, the first test, because this is precisely what this is. It's the first test for either opponent. Both of them are C-level fighters, in my opinion. I've not even been remotely impressed by either man throughout their professional careers. Deontay Wilder, what is it? It's 39 for his 40th fight. Just a completely lackluster record. Superficially, he may have had 19 first-round knockouts, but if I'm fighting, 12-year-old boys, I can certainly knock all of them out as well within seconds. Break down the record. He's fought 7 guys ranked inside the top 100, maybe 8. Just a insulated fighter, both initially under Golden Boy and then once moving over to the PBC as well. Now, Luis Ortiz, billed as King Kong, like he's supposed to intimidate fear into his opponents. Just an unbelievably overrated fighter. People are harping on about his age. According to whatever records IDV is held on file, he's 36, 37, 38. People obviously speculating that he's far older than that, but to me it's irrelevant. He can be 16 years old with dungarees and shiny new Dr. Martin shoes. It doesn't matter. He ain't winning this fight. Luis Ortiz, what has he done? I haven't seen absolutely anything in any fight which would give me the indication that he's going to dominate the heavyweight ranks, or if he'd received the title shot a lot earlier. No. Maybe if he was still on Nandrolone, where he achieved a lot of his title successes, but once he was popped after winning the WBA interim against Latif Coyote, he was fined $8,000, 10% of his $80,000 purse, given a year suspension. And after that, we've seen him moving from Golden Boy Promotions. Eddie Hearn strategically signing Luis Ortiz. What a dark and devastating move that was. Luis Ortiz was put on Anthony Joshua undercards at 4-5 p.m. in the evening at the O2 Arena, fighting even behind Katie Taylor. That was how much they valued him. fighting against Dave Allen. Dave Allen, who came to notoriety as a sparring partner. Dave Allen was 10-0. Luis Ortiz is looking like absolute dog shit against Dave Allen, not even remotely intimidated, walking down Luis Ortiz with his hands down, goading him on. But the referee taking pity on Dave Allen after he took a couple of left crosses, body shots, stopping the fight prematurely, a trend that has just become ever apparent in the UK, especially when it comes to Anthony Joshua. The commentators and the referees already have a narrative in place to stop the fights as soon as opponents are getting touched up a little bit. But this fight, it's just part of the wheels in motion of Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. That ship sailed as soon as Tyson Fury became the world heavyweight champion. The United Kingdom sports minister, the British Boxing Board of Control, Giles Clark, the sanctioning bodies clearly didn't want Tyson Fury a champion. And that just serves to reinforce that classism as opposed to racism is the real epidemic in society. Anthony Joshua, Nigerian lineal descendancy, Obafemi Joshua, as his name is, much loved in the United Kingdom, far more than a Caucasian in Tyson Fury. That's because Tyson Fury is his roots, vilified in the UK, that community, as pikeys, as jippos, monikers for gypsies, the travelling community. They're considered lower than vermin, lower than sewer rats, which is, people criticize what they don't understand. But Fury's fate, facilitated by his own demons, couldn't deal with the success, became a multi-millionaire overnight, resorted to, cocaine as his surrogate father. But the IBF stripping him 15 days into his reign, which is ludicrous. Unified world heavyweight champion, eclipsing the great Vladimir Klitschko's, his magnificent 11-year reign, not even able to enjoy the fruits of his success, being stripped. But yeah, I realize Vladimir Klitschko had enforced his, rematch clause, something that Lindsay Tucker will use in his argument, in his defense, to fought off any conspiracy theories. Yes, it is. It is not a compulsory element within a contract for a mandatory challenger to sign a rematch clause when challenging for any title that is governed or that is sanctioned by the IBF. But K2 and Vladimir Klitschko, but they're going to try and enforce A-side control in any respect. It wouldn't matter if the fight was in Manchester, wherever subsequently. But Tyson Fury knew that a rematch would be far more lucrative than fighting the main event fighter Vyacheslav Glasgow, who was the mandatory for the IBF. But, IBF, if you had any credibility, or if you are so desperate for credibility from stripping Tyson Fury expeditiously within his reign, well, let's see exactly what you did next. So the vacant belt was fought between Vyacheslav Glasgow, who was the mandatory, fine, up against Charles Martin. Now, Charles Martin, a PBC fighter, undefeated, I think at the time, had fought only one person ranked inside the top 100, and that was Rafael Zambano Love. And that justifies him getting a title shot, IBFA. As I've said before and many, many times, boxing is about Vaseline and wire payments. And I'm not talking about using Vaseline when you have dry skin. These conventions that these sanctioning bodies have and which they charge for, that's where all the deals and the arseholes are greased up. The shell payments, the shell corporations are set up, and the wire payments, that's where they're executed to gain shots for, their fighters, etc. So, that was disgusting. And let's go into that as well, that fight. So Vyacheslav Glasgow goes into the fight with no pre-existing injury. The fight is stopped or whatever in the second round, I can't even remember. Vyacheslav rupturing knee ligaments after him and Charles Martin get entangled, their legs get tangled up, causing a nasty fall. Charles Martin not even landing a single punch from my recollection. So if a punch is not landed and the fighter is unable to continue, then that is clearly a no contest. But inevitably Charles Martin gets gets the benefit of the doubt. No, Charles Martin wins the fucking lottery. And what do IBF do? Do they intervene? Realize that an injustice has transpired and either order a no contest as they should have, and those in accordance to the rule books? No. Do they declare an immediate rematch as they should have? No. Lindsay Tucker, Darryl people. I don't have any evidence, but no doubt they received whatever reparations as the scoundrels they are. So Charles Martin becomes the champion, and Al Heyman is not stupid, realizing that he's a dead man walking. Throws him into the lion's den. Joshua gets his title shot in the UK, 50-50 split, both of them walk away 6.5 million. Al Heyman gets his advisory fee, which is not part of a consolidated balance sheet with the PBC model. So it's amazing, isn't it, how the personal disposable income of the owner is inversely correlated to revenue and turnover, the balance sheet of a company. You just got to look at WorldCom and Enron and others and understand company law, and then you realize what I'm talking about. But so Charles Martin, he surrenders his title. Joshua becomes the champion. Destiny was always his. So now the two protagonists are on their way, and everything that happened subsequently. Luis Ortiz. Did he fight? He fought Malik Scott in the UK as well. Unable to dispose of Malik. Looked shockingly bad. Now Luis Ortiz is a southpaw, but in the Malik Scott fight, he was unable to cut the ring against against a fighter who had some natural talent, but he pissed it all away. You know, he loved the playboy lifestyle, he loved the cigars, he loved the women, and that's how, you know, he totally threw away his career. Deontay Wilder faced him in Puerto Rico. You know, Malik Scott went down from a Muhammad Ali, Sonny Liston phantom punch. You know, Malik, you know, woke up a rich man. You know, that was his integrity. But Luis Ortiz had dropped him a few times in the fight, but he just looked cumbersome. He looked one-dimensional. Tried to counter-punch on the front foot. Slow plodding footwork. People talk about his angles. I don't see no angles. I see a man who just comes straight through the front door. Not even interested in getting the lead foot advantage. Throws some nice, you know, puts his hands together well straight down the middle. Works well inside, but all a fighter has to do is move, you know, stick and move. If they move throughout the fight, you know, Luis Ortiz has no idea how to cut off the ring, so nor does he have the footwork to try and minimize the distance to try and land punches. So if you're tall enough, you can fight at long distance. You can just pretty much neutralize anything he has. So Deontay Wilder coming in, you know, extremely light. You know exactly what's going to happen. Deontay Wilder's, he's not even remotely interested in having a fight inside the pocket. You may not even see him at mid-range. He's going to work behind his jab and just pot shot Luis Ortiz. But Deontay Wilder, you know, he's looked absolute shit in his fights. Eric Molina was just 2 punches away from knocking him out. And Artur Szpilka, a football hooligan, he was organising fights for Legia Warsaw in the Champions League against, you know, Deportivo La Coruña and, you know, Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. You know, that was his background. You know, all he was doing was bobbing and weaving, you know, using good movement, coming inside. And, you know, he was kicking Deontay Wilder's ass. Before Deontay, credit to him, you know, landed his haymaker. And that took out, you know, Artur Szpilka. You know, Deontay Wilder, I put him in the same category as, you know, a Bruce Nelden, sorry. A Charles Martin, you know, Michael Bent, you know, as some of the worst heavyweight champions on record. And if Deontay didn't have his patented knockout power, then he would quite possibly be one of the worst pugilists I've pretty much ever seen. He's vilified. You know, people talk about him sloppy as hell, off balance, uncoordinated. Those are just euphemisms for being fundamentally and technically unsound. Has no defense whatsoever. He can't fight inside the pocket. At mid-range, he tries to show everybody he has an educated left hand. I don't see absolutely anything. He has reasonably good footwork, but by no means is he an athlete. Dedicated, you know, something he likes to reinforce and drum down into the minds of everybody. Just loves to talk. Has no charisma, has no personality. You know, has the audacity to call his belt Sophia. You know, what the fuck is that all about? You know, I'd love Luis Ortiz, you know, just to knock his ass out. You know, it'd be nice if Cuban, you know, had their inaugural first world heavyweight champion. But that's not going to happen. You know, Luis Ortiz is... He's the remnants of a reasonably good fighter. You know, 6'4", southpaw. He's getting knocked out. He's fought no one, you know. What do they talk about? I can't even remember the one opponent who he fought. You know, Vitaly Klitschko, Brian Jennings. You know, as if Brian Jennings, you know, came close to defeating Vladimir Klitschko, which is a fucking fallacy. Brian Jennings did shit all in that fight. He's horrible fighter, you know, aesthetically. Quite rugged and raw on the inside. I think, you know, I saw nothing in that fight. And, you know, that's what Luis Ortiz fans are going on. Him defeating Brian Jennings, defeating Tony Thompson. You know, another shot. A shot juiced up fighter. But Luis Ortiz, you know, no longer on the Nandrolone. Then for his hypertension, you know, his heart medication, he was given the first time I think he was given what was it, a year and 8 months. The second time I think it was a year ban by the WBA. Yeah, the first offence was a year, the second offence 8 months. No, sorry, the first was 8 months. He was allowed to come back under the WBC in 11th of May. The recent, and he was stripped from his mandatory position as well. You know, for his so, you know, you got to wonder, you know, what sort of shape is he going into the ring? It didn't look impressive on the scales for me. 45 pounds. He had the same gut as he does in all of his fights. You know, that gut that is when your metabolism, you know, slows down when you're in your 40s. So it didn't look anything special. You know, how many drugs tests, how much blood and urine have been collated by VADA as well. It'd be interesting to know if they've been taking blood work from Luis Ortiz regularly, as I suspect, but I don't know definitively. You know, once you've had blood taken, you know, you can't train for days after that. You're drained. You have to put on weight. You have to reinvigorate your body with glucose, you know, to build up. You know, you have to watch out for infections as well. So, you know, that's going to deplete your strength. So, you know, his training camps may be hindered in and out, but so I don't know. It's a fight that I'm not even remotely excited about. The heavyweight division, in its entirety, I think it's just a piss poor division. I think Anthony Joshua is one of the most overrated fighters that I think I've ever seen. You just have to look at his amateur record and how many gift decisions he received. People harp on about London 2012. I was there at London 2012. Just go back and watch the Erislandy Savon fight, and then you realize what I'm talking about. You know, Joshua has no footwork, has no lateral movement. a Tyson Fury a couple of years ago would have just ran circles around him and outboxed him for 12 rounds, probably not even losing many rounds. But Tyson sadly has facilitated his own downfall. He's never going to be the same fighter coming back. It doesn't matter that he's still quite young, only a year older than Anthony Joshua. I think the hunger and the desire has been taken out of him. In boxing, you can go into it with 10-20% talent, but you need desire. You need to be disciplined. His lifestyle doesn't facilitate that. He's going to cut 60, 70 pounds, 80, 90, 100 pounds each time, putting on after. Nah, he's a knockout waiting to happen. So I'm not excited to see Tyson Fury coming back, even though I was one of his most passionate supporters. But he's had his own issues as well with, riding on that uncastrated meat story. But the British Boxing Board of Control and UCAD have not arbitrated that particular finding well. I contacted them, I tried to find out, look at their case files, but they pretty much shut me down. They violated all of the protocols. You just go back and look at no case files opened. They had an obligation to issue their findings, to publish it to issue it to the World Anti-Doping Authority as well, but none of that was done. Very much like when Luis Neri had failed his drugs test. The WBC didn't want to release it until it was leaked. So, there's absolutely no credibility with any drugs organizations, any sanctioning bodies. Drug testing is just designed to allow the athletes who the sanctioning bodies certainly want as their champions to continue taking whatever they've been taking. It is a process of elimination. The fighters that they don't want, under a blanket theory that 80-90% of all athletes, all boxers are taking performance enhancing drugs. So it's just a process of elimination. So Deontay Wilder will prevail in this fight. He'll get his knockout. The American boxing fans who fixated with this notion that Anthony Joshua has been ducking him, who don't even understand economics, Lou DiBella, Showtime, they don't have the working capital to make any bid to Anthony Joshua. What they're going to do, offer him £2 million, £3 million for a fight. This man doesn't get out of bed for less than £10 million. So they've not submitted any bids, let's be absolutely clear. Deontay Wilder should be given a lie detector test, That is just designed to fool these whack-ass casual fans who are unable to follow, even the most basic of instructions, The Lion's Den boxing community who, don't understand the negotiation, don't understand economics. They can harp on about whatever. But the fight will happen. It was always scheduled to happen. I talked about 2-3 years ago how a fight between these two, it would be a trilogy. I said it on numerous podcasts. But it could work out to be a two-fight deal, one in the UK inevitably, and maybe one in the United States. You know, Deontay Wilder likes to think that he has a high profile in the United States, but he comes out and says that he's not liked in the United States because he's black. So he must acknowledge that he doesn't have any profile. You know, he has absolutely no personality or charisma. So he can't sell any fight. You know, his mantra that he's going into the ring to hurt people, to destroy people, to kill people. Fine, you know, if people want to see people being killed, then... But, you know, you can make that threat against weak opposition. But when you're up against, you know, high caliber opposition, where it's a fair fight, where there is no ulterior motive, where there is no agenda in place, then I'd like to see, you know, what transpires. But, you know, everything is just shrouded in darkness, in deals, in collaborations. So, you know, what happens tonight. I'd like to see Luis Ortiz win, but I just... There is no way on earth I can see that. I see a light Deontay Wilder using lateral movement, using his jab, almost similar to the way he fought Bermain Stavern in the first fight, pot-shotting Luis Ortiz, hopeless counterpuncher on the front foot. You know, if Luis Ortiz had any brains, he would just sit back. He would do a Canelo Alvarez and just lie on the ropes, if not stay in the middle of the ring. But he's just gonna fall into that bull and matador. You know, emotion is gonna get the better of him, and he's gonna go hunting Wilder, and he's just gonna get picked off and knocked out. So forgive my somber mood, but this is a shit show. You know, Andre Derailed and Uskatagi on the undercard. You know, are we gonna see another PBC clock malfunction? You know, one of their tactics just to protect their fighters. A recurring theme throughout. You know, Uskatagi, I hope he just knocks him out and gets some justice, because that was a travesty in the first fight. There was no infringement whatsoever. Derailed was on the verge of being knocked out, and the sequence of events started flat on the buzzer, not after no bell. So that's what it is anyway. So a very depressed, somber corruption in boxing, you know, transmission over.